everybody. Welcome. We've got a nice full house today. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Sarah Guthals, and I lead DevRel at Sentry.
I'm Cathy, and I'm a software engineer on the ecosystem team at Sentry.
And by the end of this demo, all of us will be able to debug so much faster, get back to building those features so that you all can be here demoing at next year's Universe. Sound good? All right. Before we jump into the demo, though, I do want to give you a quick introduction to Sentry, just in case you're not familiar with it. So you may know Sentry as your absolute favorite go-to error and performance monitoring tool. We've been providing developers with insights and functionality to not just be aware of what is going wrong, but also to take action. As developers, we're always making improvements, fixing bugs, working on new features. We're eager to build, create, share, grow. And that's why things like Copilot are so popular and so widely adopted, because we want to be able to have a faster development experience. But beyond monitoring, we believe that every developer should be sure that their systems are also debuggable. So dev tools should be supporting developers in that kind of goal of a debuggable system in 3 key ways: by helping you contextualize, prioritize, and trace. So what does this really mean? So first we need to understand kind of the context of what was happening when an error occurred. Like what browser or operating system or event triggered the error? What were all the things that happened just before the error happened? Or even better, what line of code triggered the error, ideally? But knowing the context of just one issue isn't enough. We need additional insights to determine if this fix should be prioritized over other fixes or over other new features that we're developing. So we'll want to know things like how many users are experiencing this issue? Is the issue impacting revenue? Or is our app completely crashed and is no one able to use it? Our tools should also be able to help us avoid those dreaded Slack threads. You might know the ones. It's the ones where someone's like, something's broken, and they're tagging all of the engineers, and then we have to go to another channel and tag 10 more engineers until finally the right engineer is tagged, only to realize this is not even a priority. We have a much bigger issue that we're dealing with, so this is just going to be added to our backlog. With platforms like Sentry that support the entire debugging workflow, the right person will be alerted when the issue meets the right criteria, meaning it should be addressed right now. And when you do get alerted and you do open Sentry, you're able to trace every issue efficiently. With the trace view, for example, you can inspect every single span that led up to an error across all your distributed apps and services, so that you know exactly what went wrong, where, and why. No more attempting to recreate issues locally or digging through too many logs. You will now have all the information and context that you need to get started working on a fix. Okay, are you ready for a demo now? Okay. So, in support of faster and more reliable debugging, our goal is for you to understand, resolve, and verify that your fix to any error or performance issue that your users are experiencing is out and in the world. So let's take an example. This is in PowerPlant. It is a very, very real, okay, it's not real, a very, very real e-commerce site that sells accessories for plants. So we can take a look at the Empower Plant products. And right now we're not engineers, we're just customers. So it's a little slow. Better be some good products, because that took too many seconds, right? Like we noticed it. And as someone who definitely doesn't have a green thumb, I'm looking through this and I think I want that Batana voice and plant stroller, because I want my plants to literally walk up to me and start yelling at me when I forgot to water them, right? Because that's what happens. I have a lot of brown plants at home. $425, I think that's worth it to keep my plants alive. Sure. So I'll go ahead and proceed to checkout. I'll fill in all of my information, and I'm going to click a few more. Okay. I guess all my plants are just going to die. I was ready to give Empower Plant $425. They apparently don't want my money. I'm done. All right. Hi, I'm developer Sarah. Nice to meet you. I just got this notification in Slack. Apparently, someone is rage clicking on Empower Plant right now. And this is a problem, right? Luckily, from inside of Slack, in this notification from Sentry, I can already see that not only are my users angry, causing them to rage click, but also it's happening in production, and I can see that it's happening on my checkout flow. So this is definitely something I want to look into right now because it's probably impacting revenue. All right, so I'm going to open up the issue details page in Sentry, and I'm going to get some critical information right away, like that it's in production, it happened on Chrome, it's on my checkout workflow. I can also see that this is happening to a lot of users and a lot of time, so it's probably something that we should be addressing right now. And I also noticed that it's been consistently happening over the last 30 days, that it showed up 5 months ago, just showed up again, and in the same release. So this is a problem that has not been addressed for at least 30 days. We need to fix it. I can open up issues in other developer workflow tools that we might be using, and I can leverage all of the contextual information that Sentry provides, like how often it's occurring, if it's happening more on Windows versus Mac, etc. This is a rage click issue though, so what I really want to do is actually see what was happening when my users got so angry. So I'm going to open up the session replay. Now, a quick reminder, session replay is a video-like reproduction of what is actually happening on your user's device. As you can see, the replay obfuscates text, and it'll also obfuscate images. We do this out of the box to protect personally identifiable information, or PII. If you know for a fact, though, your site does not have PII or certain pages don't, you can definitely unmask that in just a simple config file. Okay, so I'm going to open up this session replay, and I'm going to play this, and I can see there's the slowdown. I can see them starting to open things up, and as I'm watching this video-like reproduction, I can see breadcrumbs over on the right-hand side showing things like page loads, navigation, web vitals, user actions, errors. I can even see things like user feedback. If you wanted to incorporate the user feedback widget, we can get the feedback right here in this video-like reproduction. We can also trace, that's the next slide. While watching the replay, I can also take a look at what was happening in the console, right? I can also see what was happening on the network. And I can see all of the errors that were showing up. So you get kind of the best of the dev tools that you're used to working with, but what was actually happening on your user's device, instead of trying to repro it on your really high-end machine and fast-working network. Before we jump into the trace, though, I am noticing that we have an n+1 query issue. That sounds like a slowdown. That's probably why it was being slow, which is not related to that rage click, I don't think. So I want to look into that real quick. We open up this n+1 query issue, and we get similar information to what we saw in both the rage click issue view and even on the session replay. We get all of that contextual information right here at the top. In this case, we're going to get like what was the preceding span. We can actually see query calls. And we're going to jump into a full trace. Here you can see we've got some web vitals highlighted. You can actually jump into all of the spans that were happening right before or during an error. And we can definitely see that there's an n+1 query issue happening right there visually. We get all that contextual information that we've been seeing in the rage click issue view, the n+1 query issue view, the session replay. So regardless of how you proceed with debugging, you're going to have the information you need to take action next. This is definitely a back-end issue. That's Cathy's department. So I'm just going to assign it to her and move back to that rage click. Here's the thing. Being a manager, I'm spending quite a lot of time in the browser. I'm not proud of it, okay? I want to be back in my editor, but I do spend a lot of time in my browser. And I don't know if you know this, but after lunch, there's going to be a session on GitHub Copilot on the main stage. You should definitely check it out because we're going to be demoing in partnership with GitHub our new update to the Sentry for GitHub Copilot extension. And I'll just give you I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but I'm going to give you a quick summary of what it does. So when Sentry detects that a new issue, a new error, a new performance issue has happened with your application or your website, and it can identify the suspect commit, which is something that Sentry can do, and therefore the suspect PR, we will comment on the PR that is likely to be the PR that caused the issue with a summary of that issue and a button to identify the root cause. You click that button right inside of GitHub PR workflow, and we'll come up with the root cause for you and then offer you a button to auto-fix it. Click that button, and we will open a draft PR for you, and you can just merge it. It's really easy. But did you know that you can actually also do this in Sentry? So for example, this first issue was something that I can probably work on while Cathy's working on that N+1 query issue. I can dig into the details, the trace, all that contextual information that you know and love, but I can also click this button right here. And just like with the extension in the PR workflow, I can get a root cause analysis, maybe. And so summary, root cause analysis, and I can also, I realized the issue was because I hard-coded an error for this demo. So maybe an easy fix, but that's okay. So there's the actual issue. I can just ask Sentry to go ahead and find a fix for this issue. It was hard-coded. It's probably an easy fix, but I don't have time for that right now. So go ahead and generate that for me. Yeah, this looks good. I think that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and create a PR from right in here. And this will create a PR on GitHub for me. So now that this demo is over, I'll probably merge that PR, and you can go ahead and fix those backend issues.
So to fix the backend issue, I'll come into my editor after getting a Slack notification from Sarah that I got assigned the issue. I can open the GitHub Copilot extension to the side on VS Code to dig into it further. So I can add the Sentry agent to give me a summary of the issue, and then ask Copilot to use that summary to help me fix it, all without leaving my editor. Through demo magic, I can implement a fix and open up a PR to fix it. So I'm not sure if you all know this, but CodeCov is part of the larger Sentry ecosystem. So I, of course, have CodeCov integrated into my workflow. This means every time I open up a PR, I'm going to get a comment from CodeCov with a report of the coverage, my test coverage. And as a sneak peek to the Copilot main stage talk after lunch, the Sentry extension for Copilot update also includes an update to auto-generate unit tests. So clicking the button will open a new PR with unit tests for the N+1 PR fix that I just opened. So now I can go generate my unit tests and make sure this fix is ready to deploy. After fixing the issue, maybe we can start selling those plant accessories on the Sentry shop. So let's recap quickly. Sentry provides actionable insights through relevant data when and where you need it. When you open an issue in Sentry, you can quickly get an understanding of what went wrong, how many users are being affected, and how to start debugging. With features like Sentry Replay, you can stop wasting time trying to recreate what happened before, during, and after your users encountered an error. Finally, you can truly understand your user's misery. With CodeCov as part of the Sentry ecosystem, you can ship better quality code to reduce issues in the first place. Like all tech companies, Sentry is also thinking about the best ways to leverage AI to make debugging faster and to help you ship fixes with confidence. And when problems are more system-wide and complex, Sentry's Trace View offers a unified view of your multi-service application, making it simple to identify critical issues across your stack without losing any context.
Okay, so you might be thinking, that's all great, but I have a tiny team, or I'm an indie developer. I don't have the budget, I don't have the people to make this whole system work, right? The good thing is that it's fairly simple. For most of our SDKs, we have a wizard that just helps walk you through in the terminal, just setting up the SDK. You can then also modify your config file just to make sure that you have tracing and session replay set up. Make sure you have your sample rates, maybe at 100% when you're just testing it. Don't keep it at 100% when it's out in the wild, right? And then also decide whether or not you want to mask that in those replays. And if you have questions, we have a Discord. You can find us on social media, but you can also head to our docs. We support over 100 languages and frameworks, so we likely are supporting whatever stack you're using, whether you're doing mobile, gaming, front end, back end, LLMs, whatever you're doing, we probably have some support for you. And we have a bunch of different options for how you can use Sentry. You can self-host Sentry because we are fair source. You can use our free developer tier, all the way through to enterprise plans. So Sentry will definitely grow with both you, your team, and your application. And before we go, I definitely need to acknowledge that none of this work, and I don't just mean this work, but like none of this work would be possible without open source. So if you haven't heard, the open source pledge, it's basically a pledge to make sure that we are contributing back to the open source maintainers in a way that is impactful. So go to osspledge.com. It's really easy. We're asking companies that rely on open source, so that literally means probably every single one of us, or every single one of the companies we work for, to commit annually to giving back to those open source maintainers. So it's really simple. To take the pledge, you do need to provide a minimum of $2,000 per full-time employee, full-time developer on staff. Make sure to self-report your company's annual giving, and then we all win. I mean, truly, like the open source maintainers win. You will build goodwill with not only the maintainers, but also all of the developers within our industry. So you will win. And with a safer and more sustainable open source ecosystem, the world will win. So encourage your company to take the pledge today. With all the time that you're going to save with debugging, I really can't wait to be sitting there instead of standing here next year and watching you demo what you've built.